This is Camps Bay that we saw yesterday from the top of Cable Mountain.
Is this the stuff you're talking about that was floating? No, this is Kelvin. This little suburb, by the way, is always been one of the poshest suburbs. It's a tiny little suburb. But he's pulled it out and sold the bronze. Used to be on those big rocks there, I'm sure.
This is Hout Bay, a suburb of Cape Town situated in a valley on the Atlantic seaboard, the Cape Peninsula. The sheltered bay has a white sand beach and one of the busiest fishing harbors in the Western Cape. Red Bull used to sponsor a Big Wave Africa competition, but it's been suspended. Swells here have been recorded up to 47 feet high. Water's beautiful. You can see how high up we are if we can find this kayaker down here. And the cliff along here is a little bit like the coast south of Monterey down towards Big Sur. And we're going to be driving around here.
Ravine to catch all the falling rocks. There's so many that fall here, they built a bridge here and they can just fall right through underneath and go down to the bottom without affecting the road. And that's because buses are allowed to come down here. It was designed that they could come down here, but they're not allowed to come back. It's only for cars and motorbikes and cyclists coming back. Really disgusting buses doing the tour around the island, because you do a tour around the island for 45 minutes and then you do the tour of the prison. I just have to hold my breath. When they built this, you see all the other overhangs have got pillars. Flag over here, he's looking for sharks. And then you've got surfers on the bottom.
Spotter.
Let's see. Oh, there are some surfers way out there. And then
some
from
surfers.
Here he can see the sharks and warn them.
And they train horses
If I
on
blows
here.
over, I've never noticed so many.
We've got the greatest diversity of plants of any area in the world here in the Cape, South Africa.
About this guy, where is he now? No, he's in jail now. But when he comes out, he comes a black bird about the size of a seagull, bright orange legs and a long bright orange bill. Oyster catcher. Thousands of years ago, there were people who lived here, and they would take stones and pile them in, make a little brewer. It was below the high water mark, but above the low water fun, but not a single straight wall in that place. So they're obviously smoking lots of stuff.
Hardly a thing growing, I guess there are some.
Now this is the
bushes.
Cape Point Nature Reserve, and that's what we're going to go into a little further down.
In Ireland.
You can see there's been a fire here.
This hillside is covered with beautiful proteas.
Pincushion proteas are beautiful up here on the right.
Pincushion proteas.
Yeah, they're pink now, so that's really nice to see.
Proteas are the national flower. These are the local baboons. They're smaller and hairier than the ones we saw up in the national parks. They're certainly hairier because it's colder here in the winter.
Teenagers have still got way too much energy.
They're looking for lunch. There are a couple of eland down there.
Cows form the herds, the big herds, the little bachelor herds. But like elephants.
Today was a cable car at Cable Mountain. Today is a funicular, which is on a train track inside this mountain. there's the hike up to the lighthouse that we are not taking. It's just beautiful up here.
The whole area is so beautiful.
Type of bus we're riding on.
Information as part of the formula for allocating quotas for the next year. But of course, the main fishing is done by the poachers with scuba gear at night. When they come to your house, if there's no one in the house, the little guys go in through the window that's only this much open. They go straight to the refrigerator. And they will not open for the bigger baboons. You see the bigger baboons rattling and shaking and they wait till they've had their fill and then they open for the big guys, because the big guys chase them away and they go and raid the fridge.
Simontown, and this building was erected in 1826 and enlarged in 1913. And we're at a seafood restaurant. We have a nice view of the waterfront. This is Jubilee Square, that honors South African citizens who were removed by the Edict of 1967. I think this must refer to the 1967 Terrorism Act passed by the apartheid regime. Enforcement of the act allowed for unchecked control by security forces over those they detained. Today, there's also this little market in the square. There's also a statue of Just Nuisance, the most famous dog in Simontown, born around 1937. He liked to hang around the Navy base and the sailors would feed him. His favorite place was on top of the gangplank. Since he was a 6'6" tall Great Dane standing up, he was an obstacle on the gangplank, so they called him Nuisance. Well, some people objected to Nuisance hanging around and threatened to have him put down. So the Navy commander of the base enlisted him in the Navy. For the next few years, he was a morale booster for the troops during World War II. However, he died in 1943 after a car accident, was buried with full naval honors at the former South African Navy Signal School.
I want to also just beat the traffic a little bit in the African penguin. They used to be called jackass penguins. But with the modern society, that is not politically correct anymore. I think the penguins perhaps sent a delegation in and complained that there was a derogatory name. Near Simonstown is a colony of African penguins. There's 3 penguins out here in the wild. From just 2 breeding pairs in 1982, the penguin colony here has grown to about 3,000. In 1910, there were about 4 million African penguins, but by 2000, they were down to about 200,000. Unfortunately, by 2010, there were only 55,000. At this rate, they're expected to be extinct in the wild by 2026. Here we go, a lot more penguins. Here's a bunch coming in from the water. Here we are lining the beach with penguins. As we were getting ready to leave, we found these 2 guys hanging out near a snack bar.